great. So next up, we've got three very exceptional speakers. But before they come on stage, whilst they get mic'd up, hands up if you work for a national or a multinational organization. Nice. Hands up if you work for an SME or a micro business. And hands up if you're in a leadership position within any size of business. Okay, nice. Lots of hands up. Well, this session is very much for you because we're going to be exploring the forward-leaning perspectives on transforming corporations. And we're going to have three brilliant speakers come and join us. So please welcome to the stage Tessa from Fairphone and Undercover activist, Marie-Christine from Les Collectifs, and Antoine from SAP France. Nice. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello. Very formal handshake, hey? Very good. Love this. Come, welcome, welcome. I'm going to go sit over here. You're going to sit here. Hello, guys. Welcome to Change Now. It's good, isn't it? OK, so I could introduce you, but I'm not going to. I'm going to give you guys a quick minute to introduce yourselves. Maybe give a little bit of your journey to date and where and how you got involved in transforming organizations. Should we start with you, Marie-Christine?
Yeah. Hello, everybody. So I'm Marie-Christine Pires from Les Collectifs. I'm volunteer in this association, which is gathering green teams from a lot of corporations of engaged employees willing to really accelerate the environmental and social transition of their organization. So we represent 10,000 engaged employees from 250 companies, from small businesses to large organizations. We are mainly in France, but not only. And I'm in charge, in particular, to develop the international network of Les Collectifs. And I started my journey, so 3 years ago, where in my company, I had the opportunity to create my collective, my green team of engaged employees. And I really fell in love with the journey and the human experience. And last year, I've discovered Les Collectifs, and it has been really a crush because you feel less alone when you are surrounded by peers. And it has been a great journey, but I will explain more later.
Brilliant. Thank you. Antoine, should we follow by
you? Hello. My name is Antoine. So first, I have to say I'm a bit stressed to go after Nina. So inspirational talk. But I've been told you're the kindest audience, so I'm counting on you. I'm a developer working in a software company, so I'm one of the 15,000. Still, I've been trying to change the world for 15 years in that company. I will talk a little bit more about that later. I started with employee engagement, trying to do some pro bono to help social entrepreneurs, because I realized that our skills could help people who are changing the world. And then I moved to, I gave my soul to trade unions and works council.
Very cool. Thank you so much. And Tessa?
Hi. Yeah, I'm Tessa. I'm, I would say, a social entrepreneur, and I realized more recently just an activist in business. 10 years ago, just over 10 years ago, I set up a company called Fairphone with this idea that we could change an industry from the inside out by making a product that was actually made with social values. And more recently, I set up the Undercover activist with a similar idea of how can we change organizations from the inside out? And I'm not alone in this space. It's really nice to see that there's a lot more people, from Creatives to Climate to Kite Insights. You know, this is a big space that is now being occupied, I think, by people who are trying to help employees to raise their voice around social and environmental issues. And I think the only thing I'd like to add to that is, I know that employee activism, or the word activism, isn't comfortable for everybody. It's a social construct. And I think that, you know, it depends on where you grew up or what your family was about or which country you live in, what activism is to you. So I want to just say that it's really nice that ChangeNOW is creating this space, I think, for activism.
Yeah.
And what we actually say for the Undercover activists is that we see activism as love made visible. So it's people see it as anger and protest, but we also see it as something where people want to create a world that is based on values and something that they stand for. So that's what I want to say.
Let's kick off with that, because I think you coined positive workplace activism, and I guess I'm interested to know what's the difference between corporate activism, employee activism, and what you've coined positive workplace activism?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, I think, also with having had Nina on stage. I think Patagonia, Ben & Jerry's, there's a lot of big companies that have said, we want to use our brand to stand for certain issues, and we're going to do that publicly. And I think that that's part of what activism is, corporate activism. There are lots of companies like Fairphone that have said, okay, we want an activist business model. We're going to look at how we could have a different business model, and with that be actually disruptors within an industry. And I think when you talk about employee activism, it's really around how these internal change makers, who often have no mandate, no power, no resources, are really using like an activist mindset and maybe entrepreneurial skills to challenge from within.
And I'm going to ask a big question in a second, which is, can companies actually be transformed from the inside? But before we do that, Antoine, maybe you can tell us, what is a work council?
So Works Council is an organization inside of companies. Every company that has more than 50 employees can have it. It's responsible for, I think the idea is to express and defend the employees. And also to offer some services, social services or travels. So we have a big role to play in that. And also it's to work with top management to give their opinion and to decide and to follow up on actions.
Interesting. So the big question, can we genuinely transform organizations from the inside?
So yes, of course. At least we try to influence and to have some impact. So when you are a green team or a collective or engaged employee, which is made between one person to thousands of engaged employees for large corporations. So you start also to be a stakeholder within the organization. So you may influence through eco actions until discussions with the executive team. So we have several examples as Collectifs. So eco action. So for instance, if you are influencing the menu of the canteen, for instance, to have a vegetarian option that will impact the full company that may also hire millions of people. So you may have a huge impact on changing one practice. We know also the awareness around using the climate risk deployment as a tool. But not only, we have also tools to impact on business practices or job practices. So in the collective, there's one insurer who have created an insurer frisk, really to bring awareness around the climate change for their market. And as a marketer, you may also have a couple of initiatives to be able to make good choices. And ultimately, you can have conversations with the executive team. So we have seen on some collectives some shadow comex, where you are disclosing the climate strategy of the company to a small portion of engaged employees, which is pretty strong. And also the fact of being part of Les Collectifs, so this network where you connect with other green teams, is also very powerful, because you can benchmark yourself, you can take inspiration with tons of actions you can observe, and we have a catalog of actions provided by Les Collectifs. And we are also handling some cross-collective initiatives, which is very, very strong also to have between 8 and 10 collectives from different companies working on the travel policy, which will be disclosed soon, or we will start also to work on eco-anxiety. So it's very strong also to be able to gather everybody, and ultimately being able also to advocate for this cause as an association. I think it's very important to have this media exposure also to encourage executive teams and companies to really embrace those collectives within the organization. It's very important.
Nice. Any builds on that team?
So when I'm listening to you, I was nearly about to change my answer. I think no, employee cannot change the company from the inside. Sorry, but stay here. I don't think they can change it unless you create strong alliances with stakeholders, like shareholders, top management, customers, because a company is not just leaders and employees. It is an environment, it's an ecosystem. You have assets, you have investments. There is a lot of rules. And if you want to change your company, you need to understand the system. You need to understand what is moved by, where are the influences. And I think being part of the Works Council is really interesting for that point, because you talk to leaders, you get access to all the financial, all the strategic results, forecast, everything. So you can understand how it's working. However, to give some hope, thanks to Nina, employee cannot change what the company is doing, but it can change a little bit how it's behaving, how it's doing it, how we treat our people, how we process things to be more sustainable. I think we can change some of the things. We can propose. We have laws in France that give us a lot of tools to rely on. But you need to know the system and need to know the boundaries of your actions. I think it's very important, because in the 15 years I've been trying to change my company, I've seen a lot of people being frustrated because they realize that there is a limit to what they can do. And if you understand that limit, it gives you even more power, because when you know your garden, you can change it. But you need to understand it first.
I like that. Tessa?
Yeah, I'll keep it short, but I agree that we cannot single-handedly as employees change their companies from within. So it's definitely a systemic approach. I think if you turn the question around, is like, can companies be the catalyst for a just transition if employees cannot live their values in their company? So I think it's not a matter of, you know, can employees change? No, but can companies change if employees don't feel that they can disagree or bring some dissent or come up with different ways of organizing? So I think it's an unfamiliar territory for a lot of businesses, that they know pressure from the outside, from media, from legislation, you know, from a lot of different things, but they're not used to pressure from the inside. And I think that that's something new. And the question is not whether they'll change, but how are companies going to respond?
And so what are those typical traits from organizations that you have seen that are moving forward? Is there any specific solutions or ways of working that they tend to have within their organizations? I'll open this up to the whole panel.
Well, I think the main solution is to understand the problem. And the problem is the system. I think people are good. I think they want to meet their objectives. They want to get a good grade. They want their mom and dad to say, you've done great. We all want this. But the system is setting some objectives. Top management, middle management, employees. And we want to meet our objectives first. And when our objectives are about financial results, to please shareholders, that's the way it is, then the environmental impact and social justice come next. If we want to change really companies, I think we should put those values into the system, to put objectives for top management, middle management, employees, everyone. We should have this objectives that are meeting a sustainable world.
Really interesting. And Marie-Christine, I'm interested, from your perspective, how do collectives specifically bring everyone on side together?
So in fact, it could be very, to have a common goal. I think it's a kind of humanist common goal, that trying to go for the environmental and social cause. So it's really a way to be able to move forward. We have somewhat to be also creative in facilitations at some point. So in my company, for instance, to really bring awareness around the environmental cause. So we've encouraged everybody to participate to work cleanup. And in fact, we tried to make it a bit appealing, because of course collecting waste was not so appealing at first. And at first we turned it kind of funny. So we launched a contest of the most unusual waste, and then we proceed to the election of the golden waste of the year. And also it was an opportunity for people to be back all together on site, especially since COVID, where people are less interaction with each other. So it has been really something that became a ritual for the company now. And last year it has been absolutely crazy. We had 700 participants in 15 countries for a 5,000 workforce company. So it's kind of, yes, trying to be creative and to have also this transition being joyful, because I think hope also needs to speak with joy and with solidarity and being all together.
Hope. I like to talk about active hope. I think hope in itself is maybe not enough. We really need to act in the face of what's going on. Your question is, I think there's so much organizing happening in companies nowadays, and we have formal organization that is 100 years old, where employees have been fighting for their social rights. And I think what's happening now is that a lot of, especially young people, see that these formal organization in companies aren't actually tackling the issues around environment. So they're organizing in green teams, in communities of interest, in sustainability teams, ERGs, which is great, but it's also informal. And I think that it's wonderful that employees are starting with the organization like waste, etc. But we also need to look, call it out. The elephant in the room is that we need to change core business. And so that means that it's not just about organizing around these soft topics, but it's also about having a place where these people can have a voice in companies, where we can raise these voices and we can have some co-determination on very different subjects.
Yeah. Maybe on this one, just to answer you, so of course it's one level of intervention with bringing awareness about climate change, but of course we have conversations also with the executive team. We had the leader of the CSR to present the climate strategy to the whole employee force. So of course we want to go really deeper, but we need also to put some seeds everywhere, because we are not all very mature regarding the environmental cause. We are pretty advanced, but some people in our organization may be very far from it. So we need to work on different layers, I would say. And for the most advanced people, of course, discussing with the executive teams, with the CSR teams, changing business practices, job practices, and eventually business model at some point. Yeah.
Can I just, and how are organizations responding to all this extra work that employees are putting in? Because it's magnificent, right? I think this is on top of their day job. So I'd like a round of applause.
Yes. I'm not sleeping too much, to be honest. It's one of the maybe roadblocks also to move forward. Yeah. We don't have, not always dedicated time. So in some companies, they have some time dedicated for that. Not all of them. So it's really a pro bono approach. But we are kind of passionate, and for me personally, now it's part of my goals. So I'm considering that part of my time is dedicated for that. But yes, we are struggling with time and some resources, because of course for a world cleanup or whatsoever, or to have external speakers also, which is also very inspirational for the teams. Yes, we need also to have some funds.
And very, very quickly, because you've organised different workshops around the question, how do you feel about climate change? Like, what have the results been, and why did you organise those workshops in the first place?
So we organised the 2 tons workshop for as much employee as possible, and was sponsored by top management. So they are really on board with this cultural change with us. And what is very interesting is that you get to meet people. We organized 2 tons for 651 employees last year, and trying to expand this year. And you talk to people and you say, how do you feel about climate change? And you get the answer first hand. I mean, you have people telling us, I feel very anxious. Other people who say, I feel depressed. Other people say, I don't care. But at least you get to hear it from people. And you realize that it's anxiety around climate change is very spread inside the company. More than 70% of people feel either very concerned or extremely concerned. So it's all ages. It's not just something for the younglings. It's also spread by the Y generation, the X generation. So it's not just the young people who are feeling anxious and want to do something about it. They expect the company to do something.
And just in 30 seconds, because I can see a timer which is going red, how do you get that top executive team to listen?
Well, so if you are in a works council, you can force them to listen a little bit. But of course, you have people in top management that are willing to do some stuff. They just don't have the time or they don't know what to do. And if you go and say, I propose we do that and that, it will cost that amount of money, and they say yes.
Tessa's willing to jump in.
No, I just wanted to say a lot of what we experience is that it's top management and there's a lot of vision that is intentional and like genuine, and that there's a lot of people who are coming up with great ideas. But one of the big barriers is that systemically these middle managers have their financial targets and their sustainability targets, and they just don't match, you know? So I think it's more than just having the intention and the mission for an ESG policy. It's like, what does that mean when I do people, planet, and profit, and I actually look at it equally? Because I think a lot of people don't have that mandate to make these difficult decisions, and that really is disappointing for a lot of employees.
Really interesting. Yeah, nice. Look, we've got 1 minute left, so very, very quickly, I'm interested to know, for the audience who are ready to start, they're wanting to go into their organizations, they're wanting to lead their organizations to change, what one or two things would you give as tips to either leaders or employees looking to make change?
So, of course, to executive teams or engage employees also, create your collective or invest yourself in a green team, in a collective. It's very powerful. So for executive teams, it will be a way to amplify what the CSR teams are already doing. So it's really not a competition, but really amplifying or augmenting the impact. It's also a way to for talent retention. And personally, since I'm in this journey, so it's a new breath in my career. And also for talent acquisition, it's also so super interesting. And yes, and for engaged employees, for sure, you are transforming your own job into an impactful job. And I think we are searching so much meaningfulness everywhere, so it's a way to find it.
Nice. Antoine?
So I would say go to trade unions. This is an old power that has a lot of experience in social fights. Now we need to move them to social and environmental fights. So we need to invest those organizations. And I would say also, as a member of the Works Council, it gives you time, which is crucial if you want to raise awareness and so on. Try to make short. And it gives you time, money, and knowledge. So I would say don't look away from these existing solutions, existing power inside the company. You can use them and you can adapt them to the new goals, like saving Earth.
Nice. Yeah. And there's some return on investment in there if you put that effort in. Tessa, to finalize.
I would say for managers, I think it's really good to see that people that are out there actually trying to make that impact are an opportunity. They're a gift. So it's not a threat. So how can you see this resistance as a source of energy rather than something, an enemy that you need to be scared of? So I think that's for manager. Invite disagreement and try and have these difficult conversations. And I think for everybody who's an employee, don't get taken aback. An activist is not always somebody who stands on the barricades and shouts and protests. Just saying no to something can also be a form of resistance. So there are many different ways in which to be the person that you want to be and live the values that you want in your workplace.
Well, guys, thank you so much. We could chat for absolutely hours. For anybody who wants to pick the brains of these brilliant experts, please do speak to them afterwards. But again, thank you so much, and
thank you.
Speak to you afterwards.
Thank you.
Oh, wow. Well, brilliant to hear from you.